This vid is the reason I unsubbed. Stop supporting a scam. It's clearly a scam. Over 12 years, and it's still a broken, buggy, rubber banding, poor developed pile of garbage. And the RSI should be ashamed that their corp tactics and lies that they've fed their community. As if you can sit there and stand by a scummy company that spits in the face of all of those people who wanted to play a cool space game without having to spend $58,000 preferably. This is a comment I got recently, and I wanted to share it with you because before stepping into the world of Star Citizen, the only thing that I ever heard about the game is that it is a scam. Now, thankfully, I decided to see for myself, and this is the conclusion that I've reached. The day before was a scam. Star Citizen is the most ambitious, passion-driven project that shouldn't even exist. Now, it exists because it has a vision, a plan, and a crazy group of gamers who want to and will it into existence. But this begs the question, how do I know that it's not a scam? And again, I feel the answer is to highlight a real scam that we've seen play out over the last few years online, namely NFT crypto rug pulls and the day before. To put it in more terms of how I see the world, when you're going out into the unknown, there's going to be some setbacks. There's going to be those who say that you're crazy and what you're doing will never work. But dream anyway, go anyway, and forge a new path. This doesn't mean you're going to be successful, but at least you tried. I think for the most part, outside of a few online circles, that everybody has the general understanding that game development is hard. But this doesn't mean it's an excuse that you should lean on when you release a broken product. Now, I get there might be some level of irony in that statement, considering that at the time of this recording, Star Citizen is still in its alpha phase. So please know, there is a difference between a game's alpha and whatever the hell a day before thought it was.
What is this?
Your belongings will be safe and sound. Great. For you.
I think it's important that we recognize a few things about Star Citizen that it's clear from the outside looking in. First and foremost, Star Citizen has had an extremely long dev time, going all the way back to October 10th, 2012. But in truth, it really starts well before that, as a dream and a vision of Chris Roberts, something that he has longed to be able to create. A dream that we've all shared as children, and as we step into adulthood, realize just the harsh realities of that truth. How hard it is to make things that we envision come to reality. Now, Star Citizen has also raised a metric ton of money. So point number 2, they are fan funded by the community, and to an absurd amount of over $653 million and roughly under 5 million Star Citizens. This would put the average of $131 spent on the game per citizen. And we all know some of the people who are supporting this game have gone well beyond that figure. The third point I want to make, and this is perhaps the most close to home, is that Star Citizen has had its setbacks, its communication snafus, its marketing mishaps. This is where I usually feel most of the issues can be found when it comes to issues within any games community. And this is an issue that when I put on my developer's hat and talk to you guys about the reality of development, I know it can come off sounding insincere or not that your concerns and issues are valid. They are valid. The communication has been made, the expectation has been set, but the reality is that it doesn't always align up. And when I say that these developers are pioneers, I truly mean that. They're going into the unknown. They're forging a new path. And along the way, we're going to all learn lessons together. But the point is not that the game has taken this long to be made. It's that they are still going, and you can play it today. So let's actually contrast that fact to the day before. Man, did they nail the marketing?
And brought to you by the publisher Mytona. The open world of the day before is beautiful and richly detailed.
The trailer guy for this game is the whole reason why it became the most wish-listed game on Steam. Yet, as 2022 turned into 2023, the writing was clearly on the walls for this game. The thing that struck me the most was when they defended the use of their unpaid volunteers. The phrase that comes to mind is, you get what you pay for, and especially in game development at this type of quote-unquote scale that they were presenting that they had, clearly something was wrong. And then they delayed the game because there was a trademark dispute. Seems a little bit strange, but they're decrying claims that this game is a scam. Only time will prove that people were right about that simple fact. Finally, they only opened up the beta to those who volunteered for development at their company. That's not how you do it. That's not how it's done. And I do feel for anybody who got caught in that, and I'm really happy to see that more refunds were able to roll out for the day before. But I think one thing is very interesting about all this: only available to those who volunteer to be a developer at Fantastic. You know what I can do? I can play Star Citizen's alpha today. I can see for myself how the game feels and it plays. And I can also see how much money the game has raised. And while I'm new to the verse in a relative terms, I'm not required to give them my money. I want to help this game come into existence because it doesn't make sense in terms of how video games exist. An open world universe, really, with multiple systems, persistent immersive world, no loading screens. You can flight. You've got a first-person shooting aspect. It's living environments. You're living among the stars. These are things that I dreamed of as a kid, and the only way that I could experience them in my lifetime is through this game. But to me, it is clear that there is a difference between a scam and this thing of ambition that we call Star Citizen. And I think the key term here that we all can understand is transparency. We're talking financial reports. We're talking updates, not just the general alpha, but other testing updates, so that way the game continues to be developed. We're talking about hands-on access to all of this. You can play and then decide for yourself. And ultimately, the decision for many might just be that you wait and wait. But hey, I checked it out. It's something that I'm interested in. I'll check back in whenever it's ready. And that could be a couple years from now or more, but I'll keep you guys up to date on that. But finally, the point I want to bring home is communication. They communicate perhaps too much. Like, their communication, you want that consistency, you want that level of transparency, but I think all the drama really comes down into a human being communicating a vision and not necessarily having all the wherewithal to understand that time frame. How long it takes to will that into existence is clearly quite an expensive endeavor for these various different times. I could go on, but what I see in Star Citizen is an invitation into the verse rather than trailers and marketing and hype. And I get that some of you gamers out there are frustrated how long it's been taking this entire time, but that's just because what Star Citizen is doing hasn't been done before. there isn't a blueprint that they can truly follow. They're making the roads out of nothing, and they're doing the impossible. And this year, I think, will highlight that fact more than ever before. Because yeah, game development is hard. Just don't quit. Now, if you believe Star Citizen to be a scam, I actually have no issue with your worldview. I would say protect your money. There's no such thing as digital scarcity, and it is your money to choose to do with what you will. And I would always just advise, wait until the reviews are here, and then you can decide for yourself. I think that's the healthiest gaming option out there. But we've seen plenty of gamers let bitterness, let this almost in a way, the darkness, the dark side, seep into their souls and into their lives, much like the folks at Star Citizen Refunds who seem to have put a copious amount of time into quote unquote spreading their faith. Now, I'd like to take a moment to kind of dive into some of their key points so that way you can make the most informed decision that you can. They say the debate has long raged. Did Star Citizen begin with noble intentions and then only transition to a scam later in the wake of mistakes by Roberts and CIG? And they say the answer is no. So they do not believe that the game started with the best intentions and then they decided, hey, you know what would be really great if we got our asses sued each and every way from Sunday. But I digress. They say Star Citizen started as a scam from day one. This is especially in hindsight obvious from the actions of Chris Roberts. So let's take an example. They say marketing an MMO, but choosing a high fidelity single player engine. Why? Because existing Crytek staff were available to make you convincing high fidelity marketing material to help fool marks. Now, here's where I'd like to push back on this mindset. New World, same technology, same interest. Amazon also looking to invest in that and continuing to do so. One thing that I think is consistent between New World and Star Citizen with their engine is there is a high probability for bugs. It is almost a guarantee. But that doesn't mean that those will exist forever and into, I guess forever is the perfect word. So I kind of push back on that mindset. This is a weird stretch that they're making because Crytek developers and marketing was going to be easy to trick people. No, it's absolutely effing impressive. And if you go into New World, deny that fact. Deny it in the comments. I'd love to debate you on that premise alone. New World is incredibly stunning. Star Citizen also is incredibly stunning, and you can see the pure potential of this engine. Not everything has to be Unreal, 5 to quote unquote market the game better. But to give them credit, marketing is the problem. In my mind, marketing is the key aspect, and it is a weird dance and an impossible balance, especially when gaming is concerned. But another point I still want to highlight is from the very start, they were using pure nonsense like PES, server meshing, and who knows what. CIG keeps making new things. Now they go on to talk about development, database AI, encryption, etc. And where I read this and where my developer brain goes on this pushback is that these technologies that we all use exist, but when it comes to bringing them all together, making them all work in a cohesive and impressive way, it in and of itself is absolutely groundbreaking and breathtaking. And to kind of highlight what I'm trying to say here is, like, a first-person shooter game exists. They don't have to invent the concept of a first-person shooter. But a first-person shooter that is also a space sim and flight controls and obviously a persistent universe with a wide-ranging amount of players, like bringing all these things into one package, I think is insane that they're doing this. And it's more insane that people have actually also supported this effort. But it is an effort. It doesn't mean that just because APIs exist already that they could just copy and paste. This is a pioneer level project for its ambition. And you might say they're too ambitious, and that'd be a fair point of view. But that doesn't mean it's a scam. So when I saw this comment telling me that they've unsubscribed from the channel because they believe the game is a scam, I put that question to you all, and I wanted to highlight some of the community's responses. Joe says, While I don't agree with the user's aggressive tone and sentiment, I do support the fact that it seems like it's a scam. The budget for this game is insanely large, and to put a macro transaction of almost 50k as a starter is absurd. Now, Chaos responds to him saying, a release date for Squadron 42 is expected this year. The sandbox, however, which is available now, will, in my opinion, be iterated with ever, and the standalone game, which the sandbox is the testbed for, features and will now feature complete as of last year. So this year will be an interesting one with CitizenCon. And the thing I'd say is that having a big budget doesn't necessarily, like, I don't see big budgets and long development times as scams. I see, either this is ambitious and we're forging a new path, or we've run into development problems. And actually both of those ideas can be true at the same exact time. I see Square Enix as a company having 10-year dev cycles. That means there's a lot of turnover. And that's a human element to all development. People are not going to have to be chained to these desks to make them a reality. So how do you keep the experience and continue to move forward? And the way you do that in this case is with money. So we've seen lots of big funded games like Halo Infinite not necessarily deliver on that expectation. And I think a key difference here is actually leadership. And one of the things that makes Star Citizen feel so different when you step in is that leadership. It is that passion behind it. And it's not that they aren't human and they are not going to make mistakes and things haven't happened in the past that I never felt burned by. But looking at this as a 2024 forward, there is a lot of hopium in the air. Now, ACG replies that unless the very definition of scam is changed, then Star Citizen is not a scam. Now, Kirkland follows up and says, I do agree, actually. I saw no reason to get into it on the podcast. It's just like the day before. People are more than entitled to enjoy any game without criticism for doing so. And thank you, Kirk. And speaking of the podcast, the top link in the description, guys, is for all the content that I make on the internet. That's the audio version of the podcast, which you can subscribe to on any podcast platform that you like. Just follow that link if you want to get involved in the Discord, etc. All of that is all included in that Linktree link. You can get to whatever you want and ignore whatever you don't. Somebody said I don't really plug my comedy channel that much. The comedy channel is linked in there, and if you want to go check out my stand-up, you can go and do that over there as well. Now, Paul says, absolutely not. A scam game is a game that gets you in with its quote-unquote gameplay trailer to get the pre-orders, but then it either never releases or is simply an asset flip. I've had many hundreds of bug-free hours of gameplay in Star Citizen, so even if it never releases, by definition, it isn't a scam. Now, Taye says, no, it's not a scam. Some questionable decisions, and I'm sure that there are those who paid to get a particular thing that might not be happy with the scope creep that the game has gone under. Specifically, if they're not able to get a refund, they might feel scammed. But that is an individual backer's problem. And then finally, Lord Chrome says, I personally think that this game is bullshit. It's been in alpha since I was in high school, and now I'm 30. But if others enjoy it, I'm not going to let it bother me. Now, I personally think we overuse labels in modern society today. Tossing out things like scam willy-nilly devalues the term for everyone. Same thing really applies to pay to win, to the point where, as an individual's personal perspective dictates if something is a scam or is pay to win, something I really just can't get behind. There is absolute truth in this universe that we live in, and regardless if Star Citizen is universally loved or despised, I can only control me and how I react to the various things around me. That no matter what, how many angry comments that I might have left on a forum, they're still read by a human who's just doing their best to figure out what this whole life thing is about in the first place. Huge shout out to Raiden Eden Gaming. Because of their membership, this video was presented with no mid-roll ads on all videos, and live streams are also going to be ad-free because of Raiden. So be sure to drop a thank you to him in the comments below, and if you want to go beyond just watching and maybe consider joining as a member. The link to become a member is also below as well. And thank you guys so much to all the channel members here, that they are really truly helping me fulfill my dream and actually make my game a reality. Now, it's not as ambitious as Star Citizen, but if you do want to learn more, members get special fun perks, early access, and more. So check it out and consider becoming one if you do decide to support me. The other way that you can do so for absolutely free is hitting that like button, commenting below, and go check out some other videos I've got on the channel. The watch time and your lurk watches are super important to me, and I really do thank each and every one of you for being here, because you're making my dream a reality as well. Thank you always and always for watching. I do wish you guys all a wonderful day, and I hope to see you guys in the next video. But until then, take care.